Good morning everybody, good morning, it's JPR and welcome back to another video. So as I'm sure you're all aware of already, the second trailer for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet dropped earlier this week, and to be completely honest, on the surface it didn't seem like anything particularly special or mind-blowing. There was no new gimmick revealed or evolution like many people anticipated, just the usual handful of new Pokemon, the new professors, and the legendary mascots. But nonetheless, I feel like this trailer showed us enough to where I can confidently say this could be the biggest reinvention the core Pokemon games have ever gone through. Although Pokemon is a series with a massive focus on evolution, ironically it has one of the most stagnant and unchanging formulas of any major gaming franchise. Mario Kart goes through more innovation per release than Pokemon does, and when Pokemon does attempt to innovate, it's usually through features or mechanics that feel like temporary flavors of the month, and nothing that affects the long-term identity of the series. Certain games have attempted to change things up with a larger emphasis on the story or gyms being subbed out for trials, but ultimately these changes are rather insignificant in the grand scheme of things. I don't believe it's necessarily a negative thing that Pokemon has remained so stubbornly unchanging over the past 25 years, because Pokemon has an inherently mesmerizing hook that'll keep people coming back over and over again even if they've experienced it dozens of times. But needless to say, by the time Sword and Shield released, many people were feeling the fatigue of the mostly recycled gameplay loop. However, Pokemon Legends Arceus succeeded in laying down the foundation for an all-new type of Pokemon adventure while managing to keep that same familiarity. Now we know that Scarlet and Violet will be building upon this new foundation to create a fully fledged open-world experience, something that Game Freak has been continuously inching towards during their tenure on the Nintendo Switch. That alone is reason enough to think that Gen 9 could bring about the most massive shift in the Pokemon series. But after seeing what I saw this week, I think it goes beyond that. I don't believe that Scarlet and Violet will be a mere evolution of the franchise, rather an entire revolution. Equally new and reminiscent of the old school games at the same time. Similar to how Breath of the Wild was an entirely new experience, but was also heavily inspired by the same feeling invoked by the original Legend of Zelda game. Now, am I expecting Scarlet and Violet to be anywhere nearly as polished or grandiose in scale as Breath of the Wild? No, absolutely not. I may be a fanboy, but I'm not delusional. Well, it does have Huecoco in it, so maybe. But still, there's only so much that you can do on a yearly release schedule. Yes, similar to Zelda, these games are going to be presented in an entirely new style completely foreign to anything we've known before. I mean, we haven't even seen gyms pop up in the trailers yet. For all we know, they could have been replaced by something entirely different. And most importantly, we also just found out from the Pokemon website that these games will be the first completely non-linear Pokemon titles, allowing you to complete any part of these games in any order you please. To me, although it's a completely new package, it sounds incredibly similar to the Kanto region games, where you pick your starter, fight the first few gyms, and then the rest of the world is yours to explore. I know many of us are sick and tired of constantly throwing back to the Kanto region while Game Freak feeds us enough nostalgia to make our guts explode, but honestly, I think this is the way you do it. Not through shoving a new obnoxious Charizard form in our face or making us recreate literal plot points from the original games, but by recreating the feeling of those games in an entirely new setting and style. Pokemon Black and White was similar in this way, though mostly just through the Pokemon designs and creating a feeling of complete unfamiliarity. Coincidentally, this was another pair of games that returned to these simple color-based titles like Red, Blue, and Green. Although Black and White aren't just colors, they also reflected the theme of opposites presented in those games. Scarlet and Violet seem to be heading down a remarkably similar path. The names alone seem to be indicative of a classic-style adventure comparable to the good old days, but perhaps they too hide a deeper meaning. Many people were already quick to pick up on the idea that Scarlet and Violet are two of the farthest apart light wavelengths, inferring that there could be a deeper meaning related to light or the electromagnetic spectrum. And through the new legendaries and the two new professors that were just revealed, we can already see a theme of tradition versus innovation embedded in these games. And that lines up exactly with my thoughts on how these games will push Pokemon into the future but also call back to the series' roots. Even the legendary Pokemon's names, Koraidon and Miraidon, allude to the past and future in Japanese. And that, along with other hints, has led many to believe that these games could feature a time-traveling mechanic in some fashion, leaving the door wide open for more games in various time periods like Legends Arceus. Tradition versus innovation was an idea that was also explored in Black and White, although only really in two areas, Opelucid City and the Black City/White Forest. But in these games, if everything from the characters to the clothing will differ depending on the version, we could be seeing two of the most dramatically different Pokemon versions in quite some time. But that's a little out there, so let's get back on track. Point is, it's been abundantly clear in the recent years that fans are getting tired of the same worn-out approach that Game Freak is taking with every major Pokemon game. Perhaps even Game Freak themselves have become bored with the old formula, which is why they prefer to focus on new projects like DLC for Sword and Shield and making Legends Arceus, rather than a cheap enhanced version and remaking Diamond and Pearl themselves. Truthfully, I think Sword and Shield wanted to be that first open world game. You can tell from how the wild area takes up most of the middle section of the region, the branching connecting routes, or just how little Team Yell or the legendaries are involved in the game's plot. There are remnants that to me indicate that they wanted to do it in Galar at first, but in the end they just decided to dip their toe in the water rather than take the full plunge. And, well, you saw how people reacted to Sword and Shield.
Boo! You stink!
But now it's different. The growing pains of jumping to a home console are behind them. The decision to cut all the Pokemon and focus more on development has been made, and there's no going back on it. And after years of an increasingly unhappy fanbase, Legends Arceus has finally restored the hopes of many longtime fans. And I say this as a lifelong Pokemon fan who was also beginning to feel rather jaded by the mess we endured in Gen 8. Truthfully, I was not excited to find out that these games were coming out this year. I, like many others, believed that it was too soon and that they needed another year, or we'd just continue down this path of safe, uninspired games that are getting progressively less polished. But I'm confident now, and it's not thanks to some new gimmick or new forms or anything like that, rather just the promise of a refreshingly new experience that feels like a classic return to form at the same time. Gen 9 is here, and while we still don't know much about it, know that everything is about to change. This is not just another generation. This is a completely new era for Pokemon. Thanks for watching today's video. I know it's a bit shorter than most since I had to kind of scrounge it together in only a few days, but I hope you enjoyed it regardless. Shout out to my newest channel member, Arcadia Smoke, and all of these other wonderful people who support my content, and thank you for leaving a like on this video and subscribing for future videos like this one. I'll see you guys next time.